Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dani Rios, for those that don't know, aka Little Mexico. Let me fix this camera real quick. Alright guys, so I just finished doing a cute little Instagram live. I was doing my makeup, getting ready for this video. This is going to be my get to know me video 2020. Who am I? Who's Little Mexico? Who's Dani Rios? How did she get here? So I am answering some assumptions that you guys sent me on Instagram for the beginning part of this video, and then the rest of it is kind of going to be my story. Like I was telling people on live, it's very hard for someone to fully know what a person is like off of social media. I think people assume that someone is a certain way. I think people are so complex and there's so much more than what you just see on social media. So I really wanted to do this video because I kind of wanted to talk to you guys and share a little bit more about my life and share, you know, a lot of things that you guys may not know about me. Again, I know there's a lot of assumptions and I know a lot of people think I'm like a certain way, and this is kind of just like my video to state like, this is who I am, this is Dani, you either like it or you don't. And honestly, a lot of people don't like me, and it is completely fine. I do not take offense to that at all, because I feel like everyone has their own audience. A person is not everyone's cup of tea, and I think you just have to be okay with that. So if you are watching this, I'm assuming that you do like me. Okay, so let's start this video. I'm going to start it off with some assumptions that people had about me. One person was like, said that I was spoiled and I'm rich. And that was kind of like a lot of them. Like another one is like, your family's rich. These are assumptions, guys. So let me answer those first. I am assuming that people think that maybe because maybe I travel a lot, I buy a lot of like maybe like designer stuff, maybe my lifestyle seems very luxurious and stuff like that. I think I make a good amount of money from blogging, but I know I have a lot more friends that make way more money than I do, right? My thing is that I don't have any debt. And currently, I mean, I used to pay obviously rent because when I lived in an apartment, but now that I'm living with my mom right now, she owns this apartment, so obviously I don't pay rent, I don't pay any bills, don't have student loans, I don't pay for a car, so I literally have no bills at all. I think it makes it seem like I am rich just because I am able to afford things that maybe a lot of people can't because of bills and, you know, responsibilities that they have to pay. I feel like I'm really good with my money, as much as like it seems that I splurge, which I do. I love splurging, like, but at the same time I'm very like frugal about little money spending. So I will like fight to the core with my bank if I feel like a $5 charge was like not me, or if, you know, a company, if Hulu charged me $14, I'm going to email Hulu and be like, dude, I'm like on the $5 plan, like what the freak. So I'm very frugal when it comes to little stuff like that. I feel like my mom has always been really good with money. Her whole life, like growing up, like my parents worked really hard. Again, they were entrepreneurs, but they worked really hard, and I always saw my mom like not be in debt. She always paid things in cash. She always tried to pay like her house in full. And so I think because of it, and because we didn't have debt, it seemed like, again, we were really rich, or it seems like we're rich because we're able to spend money on like, you know, just stuff that we like, on trips, on travel, just because we, you know, all of our things are paid off. You know, everything that my mom has, like she literally started from scratch when we moved to the US, like literally from scratch, and she had to build her business, and her business did boom and it really did grow. But I saw her work really hard, as well as my dad. He always had like different jobs, and he always, you know, tried to provide for my family. So I think my mom in general has just always been really good with money. When she paid off our house in Dallas, or my parents paid off their house in Dallas, they were able to sell it, and then they were able to buy this apartment here in Mexico City. So all in all, I feel like it seems like we have a lot of money and we're very rich. I can say that we're really blessed, and God definitely has blessed us a lot, just like in our businesses and things we do. But I think for the most part, like that is my number one like goal for everyone, is like live debt free. You know, if you're able to pay off your car like fully, like do it, if you're able to pay your house fully, like the more you can have financial freedom, I think it's like the best thing and the best advice I could give to people. So that's kind of just like a little bit on that. Someone said you're shy around strangers, but you're super weird and funny around your friends. So I don't think I'm shy. I think I'm reserved when it comes to like people that I absolutely don't know. Like say I go to like the grocery store, the coffee shop, like I'm just going to like go in, get my groceries, ask for my coffee or whatever and leave. You know, I don't interact with complete strangers. But if it's a person that, you know, maybe my friend brought over and I'm getting to know them, of course I'm friendly and I try to be as friendly as I can be. I feel like I am a very friendly person. I think a lot of people think that I'm not. I think maybe like my face makes people think that I'm stuck up or that I'm like rude, but I really am. I feel like it's weird to say like I really am a nice person, but I really am a very friendly, nice person when I get to know you and just like when I have an initial conversation with someone. But yeah, if it's like a random stranger and they're sitting in a corner, like I'm not gonna go over there and like wave, you know, so it might seem like maybe I'm rude, but I am super weird and funny with my friends. I love my friends. You wouldn't think that I'm goofy, but like bro, some of the stuff I say, even I die, I'm like, dude, I can't believe I said that, like that's hilarious. But anyway, yeah, I'm pretty fun around my friends. I think they can like vouch for me. Okay, someone said that I tip horribly because I'm a niña fresa. And for people that don't know what that is, niña fresa is basically saying like the equivalent of maybe like a Kardashian, like someone that lives in like Calabasas or California or LA, where they have, you know, a lot of money and they're just very like bougie and they talk with like a certain accent. So someone said that because I seem that way, I tip horribly, which is actually very false. I actually love to tip really well when it's like small things, like let's say it's like a coffee, or not a coffee, but when it's a restaurant and it comes out to like $5, like I hate putting like what are you gonna put, like $1 for a tip? No, I sometimes just round it up and I'm like, oh my god, just like $10, you know what I mean? Or like if it's like a cocktail, I add like always like $5. I don't know, I just feel like small dollar amounts are just so little. And especially like in 2020, I feel like if you are able to tip really well, like please do so, because it makes me really sad that a lot of restaurants have closed and that a lot of people just don't have jobs, and this whole situation is very sad. So if you're able to tip really well, so yeah, that is an assumption that is like really false, because I feel like I tip pretty well. Okay, someone said some like personal stuff, which I don't like to talk about, like friendships or relationships with other people, so I'm just like not gonna answer those. But so you don't have a good as a relationship with your dad. So this was really funny because in my last assumption video, someone was like, you don't have a dad, or like your dad died or something, like it was something like weird like that. I never post my dad, like I've never posted my dad on my stories, on my Instagram, and yeah, I've never had a close relationship with my dad. But basically my parents were married like my whole life. They separated for a little bit, but they didn't get divorced until like 3 years ago, or yeah, like 3 years ago. So it's been very recent. But yeah, my dad is just, it's not that he's a bad dad. Like we actually still, my brother and I still hang out with him. We go like to cookouts with him and like he'll invite us over. So we have a relationship with our dad, but for me, I was never close to him. I feel like my grandpa has always been more of like my father figure, and not because my dad wasn't there or because my dad was a bad dad. It's really weird. I just never had a connection with my dad. I've told myself that I need therapy because I'm like, dude, I don't know why I don't have a close relationship with him, but I just genuinely don't, you know what I mean? And there's not like a specific reason, but yeah, we're just not that close. So anyway, that assumption was correct. Someone asked, at what age did you start living in the US? I moved to the US when I was like 3. Basically was raised there, but I would always come to Mexico City for the summer, always came for the holidays. An assumption about me is that I have a lot of self-love. I feel like that is true. I feel like, I don't know, it's weird because it's like I don't want to sound like a narcissist, like I love myself, but I love my life, and I love knowing who I am in Christ, and I think that's why I can be very bold and I can be very confident in who I am, and I don't let other people's like opinions about me hurt me or like bother me, because I'm like, dude, those people don't know me. Like I know like who I am. I'm a child of the Lord. And so I feel like my identity is very rooted in my identity in Christ and who he has told me I am. I think self-love comes from that. So that is a good assumption about me. That I hate sports. Well, it depends. I don't hate sports. Playing sports, I can do volleyball. I can do tennis. I was a cheerleader. I was a flyer. So if you call that a sport, then yes, I very much so love that. I really love gymnastics, but like soccer and baseball and like stuff where you have to hit a ball with your leg or stuff that's aggressive, no, I don't like. But yeah, for the most part, I enjoy sports. I like going to basketball games, so there's that. So yeah, a lot of them were like, you're spoiled, you're bougie, blah, blah, blah. Like I am a bougie person. I will say that. I do like expensive things. I have just always liked expensive things since I was a little girl. I wouldn't say I'm a materialistic person. Like I don't find joy in like my material things. I think I definitely prayed about that in college and the Lord was able to take that away from me and the need to like want things and want everything. So I think now it's just like I'm at a good place where I can afford to buy things for my own, and it feels so good to buy stuff with my money, with money that I've earned. So yeah, I am bougie. Do I like going to bougie restaurants all the time? Heck yeah, because I'm a foodie. I love food. I wanted to be a chef. So yeah, I love like bougie things. I enjoy the luxury lifestyle and luxurious things, but that also doesn't mean that I only like luxurious things. I like getting tacos and I like doing basic things with my family and friends. I'm a very low-key person, but I can be a very high-key person as well. And I feel like it's hard to explain that, but yeah. All right, so now let's get to the good part. I feel like we talked a lot about these assumptions about me, but let's talk about my life. And just for those that don't know me and have just been following me recently, or maybe you have been following me for the last few years but don't really know like the background story of my life, yeah, we're gonna get into it right now. I think I'm going to start kind of at college, after college, because if I was to talk about my whole childhood, it'd be a very long video. So maybe that could be a different video. Quick background story. I'm from Mexico City, was born here. My whole family was born here. We moved to the US when I was really young. I was raised there, and then I ended up coming back to Mexico City to live, and then I went back to Dallas and came back and went back, and anyway. So in college, I went to Dallas Baptist University in Dallas, obviously, and you know, I was there for like a year and a half. I was going to DBU for marketing. I've always had a passion for marketing. Again, my whole family are entrepreneurs, so I feel like I always had like the business side of me in there, but I've always been very creative, which is why I chose marketing, because I'm like, you know, this can help me, you know, help my parents and their businesses, and it can help me, you know, I don't know, I feel like I noticed that about myself, that I would always look at branding, and I would always look at packages at the grocery store and be like, well, that can be marketed differently. So I feel like marketing was kind of my gift. I was always a very salesy person since I was a young girl. I remember going to the mall with my grandma. I'd come up to her and pretend I was like the sales lady, and I'd be like, ma'am, like, what are you looking for? And I'd like pick out stuff for her. So I've always been like a very salesy person, which is I think why blogging was so fitting for me. And at that time I was dating someone. This was my very first boyfriend, and we like started to officially date once I moved to Dallas, because obviously he lived in Dallas, and before that I was in Mexico City, so it was long distance. So he was my first boyfriend, person that I thought I was gonna marry, like soulmate, like whatnot, you know what I mean? No, I went to college and it was very hard for me. Like college was extremely difficult, and not talking about like college itself, but the college experience was so hard for me. I remember like a semester into college, I wanted to come back home. I think I was so sheltered, and my parents did so much for me, and I was very like spoiled, that when I was off on my own and my parents didn't help me at all, I was devastated. And again, I am a bougie person, so me not having money to like afford certain stuff, and not even like afford like luxury stuff, like literally afford maybe like even like a meal that I wanted, like I literally had no money. So it was very difficult for me, and it was definitely a wake-up call. And I think that's something that like I will take into when I have children. I'm like, dude, I can't give them everything, because, or at least, you know, teach them certain things that my parents didn't teach me growing up. And I think the only reason why I actually actually made it through that whole year was because of my boyfriend at the time. Honestly, like being without your family like that, it's so hard, especially if you're really close with your family. I know a lot of people go through like college, and college is just a whole different thing. You're like off on your own, you're doing wild, crazy things. I feel like that was kind of like the path that I was going to. The friends I had in college were not very good for me, and I was going down a very dark road, which at the time I didn't notice. And at the time I was like, oh, this is what everyone does in college. And at the time I was like, dude, this is like nothing compared to what other people do in college. So in my mind I was like, oh, this isn't bad at all, you know what I mean? But you know, a few months later, a whole, you know, year and a half into college, I broke up with my boyfriend because I had found out he had cheated on me. I turned 20, so I was 2 decades old. I remember waking up at 20 years old and crying because I was like, oh my God, I am still in college, just broke up with the person I thought I was gonna marry, and I'm so lost. Like, where am I living? I'm living in the worst place ever. I'm like literally so broke. It was a nightmare for me. And if you guys know me and follow me, like, you know that I'm a very ambitious person. I'm a very like goal-driven person, and I have goals for myself. So at that time, I think I remember thinking like in my head, like at 21 is when I wanted to like have my life together and, you know, have like a job or maybe like graduate college and like be doing something with my life, you know what I mean? Like, I honestly thought at 21 I was like gonna have my own business. I cried, and I remember my mom later on found out like a whole bunch of stuff that I had been doing, and she was like, dude, like, you're coming home. So I ended up coming back to Mexico City, and during that, I think it was like a year or so that I was here, that I came back after college, and I was just gathering myself again. I was trying to, you know, have like a relationship with Christ again, and not that it ever left, but it just like the stuff that I was doing was just completely like not something a Christian girl would even be doing. So I really had to like sit with myself and be in this room, literally the same room, and think about everything, think about my life. What did I want to do? What did I want to accomplish? But I think at the same time, that year was really hard for me because I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to college anymore. At the time, my dad had gotten in a really bad car accident, and he was like on bed rest. So that was like financially really stressful on my mom. He couldn't work, he couldn't do anything. So I think I was so upset with my life. It's like at a point, at a verge, and I don't want to say that, like, I don't know if I was in depression. I feel like I was getting there, and I was like on the verge. But I remember like I'd go to sleep at like 4 a.m. watching Gossip Girl, and then I'd wake up at like 12 p.m. So I guess maybe that was depression, if I'm being honest. Fast forward, I remember just being so like set on going back to Dallas, because obviously that's where my friends were, that's where my life was, and I wanted to go back to Dallas anyway, anyhow. I was trying to apply to a whole bunch of different schools to go back to Dallas. I was doing everything a person could do, and I think for that whole year I was so set on that, and it was very frustrating for me that nothing was like working out the way I wanted to, that I remember that there came a point where I like cried, and I remember I was like reading the Bible and having like some quiet time with God at night when everyone had gone to sleep, and I just had like a realization where I was like, I was like, God, if you don't want me to be in Dallas, then I can accept that, and I'll be fine, and I'll have peace about it. I'm tired of fighting. I'm literally drained and tired of trying to like control my life and trying to like have my life be figured out. And I was just so tired of controlling everything and trying to like set this huge plan for me and for my life that was clearly not working. So I was like, God, I'm just like giving you my life, whatever you want to do. Like, if you want me to stay in Mexico, I'll stay in Mexico. If you want me to go back to Dallas, there will be a way. So after that moment, I remember just being so at peace and happy after like a whole year of like literally having meltdowns and crying and literally being so mad at my life. I ended up having that like moment with God, total like 360, or is it 180? I don't know, 360? 180, I don't know. And yeah, I basically kind of just like was still living here but had like a better attitude about everything. And then I just remember going to Dallas with my grandparents that summer, and you know, I was still being active, so I was still going to like different schools to see if I could apply to go back to school. But you know, it wasn't like I need to be in this school, you know, it was more like, okay, if it happens and they accept me, then I'll great. Fast forward to the end of that summer, I got a call from one of my good friends. She is the wife of the CEO of this company, and she basically was like, hey Dani, like, I know you're super gifted in social media. Do you think you would want to take a full-time job for our company as a social media manager? And I was like, hey, like, thank you so much for thinking of me. Like, I don't know how that's gonna work because I'm going back to Mexico City. Like, how do you think, you know, like that would work like from there? And she was like, oh, well, no, this would be like a full-time job. Like, you would have to come into the office and whatnot. So I ended up having a meeting with her and her husband, and they were like, basically, you know, this is what we can offer you. This is the job. Basically, like, do you want it or not? And I was like, yes. I think in that moment, I remember like literally walking out of that meeting and calling my parents, and I was like, hey guys, like, I'm not gonna go back to Mexico. I'm staying in Dallas because I was offered a full-time job at this company, and it's gonna pay really well. I'm gonna be able to afford my own apartment out here, and like, this is it. Like, I'm doing it. And I think I was 21 at that time, about to turn 22. I just remember being like, and it makes me like tear up a little bit, but I just remember being really thankful. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm just like reminiscing. It was just so wild because that whole year was so difficult for me. And like, again, I think I really was in like a depression, to where I remember in that year, I was in a car ride with my mom, and I started crying. Like, I was like having a meltdown because I was like, oh my God, mom, like, I'm 21. And again, 21 is a young age, obviously, but for me, like, I'm just a very ambitious, goal-driven person. So for me at 21 and not doing anything with my life, I was like traumatized. So I just remember telling my mom, like, having a meltdown in the car. I was telling her, I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm wasting my life away. I have no purpose. I have nothing that I want to do. And for me, that was really hard. And I think for anyone, when you don't know your purpose and when you don't have like a job or like something, like you're doing nothing with your life, I don't know, I think you do get into like a depression. Basically, I remember my mom telling me, like, it seems like, you know, everything's against you, and maybe like it seems like the devil is just attacking you. But she was like, for all this time that you feel has been wasted, the Lord is going to turn that around, and he's going to give you favor, and the stuff that you couldn't accomplish in that time, you know, that the enemy was trying to take away from you. Sorry, the way she said it, I can't remember because it was a long time ago, but she basically said, like, the time that had been wasted basically by the enemy, the Lord was going to fast forward that twice and make things work faster in my favor. And so for me, that was so true in the moment, because I'm remembering like depression for a whole year, then like me finally giving up my plan and letting go, and then a few months later, the Lord giving me everything literally that I wanted. Just like mind blown. So I remember just calling my parents. I was like, dude, I'm gonna stay. This is like a big girl job. Like, I'm so excited. I ended up staying, and I just remember that year was so crazy for me. Like, I just felt so happy with my life. I had my own apartment, I had my car, I had this amazing job, plus I was like doing my blog on the side, and it was just like everything I ever wanted. I don't regret taking that opportunity as opposed to going back to college. Like, for me, it just worked out that I didn't even need to go to college and randomly got that job, and I think that was definitely God's favor. But I think in that moment, I remembered like what my mom had said, and you know, I think once I like gave my plan to God and, you know, reconnected with the Lord, he changed my life around completely. And then I'm over here living like the life that I guess someone, you know, without a freaking college degree, and like, how am I working at a corporate job with no background, like doing social media, doing what I love? Like, it was insane, guys. So I completely owe that to God. Definitely not by my own works did I do that, because I could have never, but I just remember that pivotal moment in my life. So anyway, I worked at that job for a whole year until I finally did like blogging full time. And for me, like, this blog has just been like such a blessing. I never knew that I'd be able to do this many stuff and have this many opportunities, and it's just crazy. But for sure, like, from that year up to like this year, literally, I have been working my butt off. Like, I remember those first 3 years, I worked nonstop. There was not one thing that was not work related that I didn't do, even on the weekends. Everything I did was work related. I literally was a workaholic. I remember I would take my friends to like food events with me, and like we'd talk over like a blogger event, you know, because that was the only time that I had for, you know, for myself, because I had a full-time job plus blogging. And last year, I feel like I still worked really hard, but it was a more relaxed year. And so at the end of last year, I just told told myself like, you know, like I'm tired. I want to enjoy what I'm doing, but I feel like I'm also a little bit burnt out from doing blogging non-stop for 4 years. At the end of 2019, I was like, I am going to kind of take 2020 as like a sabbatical, as like just a chill year. I don't really have any goals for myself. And it was crazy because I didn't have any goals. And again, I'm telling you guys, I'm a very goal-driven person. So for me to not have goals for the next year is a very insane thing. And then COVID happened, which is so crazy because I'm like, how did I know that something like this, or how was the Lord preparing me for like this year, you know what I mean? So before I knew like we were gonna be in lockdown, you know, I was already setting myself up for like a chill year. All that to say that, you know, that's kind of been like my blogger ride, I guess, and how like all of this has happened. So now, as much as, you know, that's definitely like a testimony and everything feels so amazing, and I'm just like, oh my god, all of this stuff happened to me, it has been really difficult. And so I'm gonna now talk about kind of like the highs and the lows and just everything that I've pretty much gone through the last 5 years. So that initial first year, nothing negative. Literally, it was amazing, best year of my life, right? Then, you know, after that year, I quit my corporate job, so now I was only doing blogging. My blog had only been around for like a year and a half, so it was just starting to take off, but I definitely didn't have like that many sponsorships. Finally, like my lease was up and I was like, dude, I'm not gonna be able to afford an apartment with like the amount of money I'm making at the moment. So I ended up moving in with my aunt in Dallas, and I was with her for like a year and a half, or maybe like a year or so, still doing blogging. And that was kind of the year that I was going to Miami a lot. Like I went to Miami like 7 times that year. So that's when I realized like, oh, like I think I do have like a good amount of money coming in, but I was still kind of scared to get my own apartment, to be honest. So I definitely did it. I still was doing my blog, but, you know, living at my aunt's. Then I ended up like moving into like, you know, a former friend's house and like stayed with her because I wanted to help her out too. And, you know, we were basically helping each other out. And, you know, finally I got to like a point where I was like, you know what, I'm making a really good amount of money. Like if I could, I really could get my own like apartment. So that's when I ended up moving to my last apartment, which was my friend Mary. You guys know, like I love traveling a lot, so I definitely didn't want to get a place to myself because I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm barely gonna be there, so I might as well just get a roommate. So that's kind of why I did that. We had a blast. Like it was really fun, and it was kind of like a full circle moment because, you know, again, that year started off amazing. The first year I moved back, like I was living at like my dream apartment, like that our apartment was so cute. But then, you know, it was kind of like a low where I'm like, crap, like now I have to move back. I have to move with my aunt, you know, and it was like, obviously when you're living with other people, it's not like completely ideal. And then like that full circle moment was when I got an apartment with my friend Mary again, and I realized like, oh my God, I'm living at the same place that I lived in the beginning. And when I left my lease that first year, you know, I knew that I couldn't afford that apartment. So I was really sad. I remember leaving like with all my things, and like I cried because I wanted to stay in that apartment so bad, but I definitely couldn't afford it. And somehow I ended up years later living at the same apartment I lived at the beginning, and just like being so thankful that, you know, I finally was at a place where I could afford to live in an apartment, like, you know, doing my blog full time. And it was just like I was very thankful in that moment, and it was just like, it was really great. You know, so for me, blogging obviously is my job, but it has kind of been my whole kind of existence for the past 5 years. Because of that, I've worked super, super hard to do what I do, to be the best that I can be at what I do, to do everything I do with excellence. I'm able to, you know, not depend on anyone, and I think that was really important for me for a really long time. From those seasons where we had nothing, I think I look back on those seasons and I'm like, dude, I never wanted to depend on anyone, and I felt bad, you know, having to depend on my parents. And I felt, you know, obviously they couldn't afford at those moments to like give me things that I wanted. And so, you know, I took it up on myself. I basically told myself, like, I don't want to depend on my parents, and I don't want to feel upset that they're unable to buy me things, or I'm unable to have things that I want. I'm gonna work really hard, do everything that I can do, you know, to be completely independent and to be able to like live the life that I want for myself, but knowing that I accomplished that on my own, that I accomplished that because of hard work. And so like now I think my lifestyle, you know, I feel like I wanted to tell this story because my lifestyle is very different now. It's all from my job and from blogging. So I'm really thankful for this job, and I'm really thankful for you guys for following my journey, for following the stuff that I do, for liking my content. It means a lot to me because, you know, now from this I was able to start my company, Brow Savior, which has been a dream of mine. I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I literally built Brow Savior off of like my own money, and I have invested a lot of money into my blog. I've invested a lot of money into Brow Savior. You know, at the same time, you do have to keep reinvesting in order to make more money. So I think a lot of people kind of have a disconnect with that, and you know, they think like, oh, like I'm just trying to save, but it's like sometimes in order to grow and in order to make more money, you have to spend money. So yeah, I mean, I'm obviously just really thankful, and that's kind of a little bit of my life story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I feel like I didn't go into depths of a lot of stuff because we would be here forever, but if you stick to something that you really want to do and you do have these dreams and you really do want to accomplish certain things, or you want to give yourself a certain lifestyle, like, dude, just work super hard, make it happen. And you know, one day, a lot of the stuff that I've been doing for the last 2 years, especially like with Brow Savior, I'm only seeing the fruits now. So don't think that like it's overnight success with anything. Like, it does take a journey. And yeah, like my journey maybe was a 4-year period, a 5-year period, which is less than a lot of people, but at the end of the day, like, it takes time to build something great, guys. And I kind of really just wanted to share that with you guys because yeah, social media is crazy, and sometimes even I get very down on myself because I'm like, I wish I could do more, I wish I could be doing that. Like, I'm very hard on myself, so I can only imagine other people that are similar to me are very hard on themselves. But just know, like, if you work super hard, it might take a few years until you see like the fruits of your labor, but just keep going. I promise it is definitely worth it in the end. And you know, all in all, I'm very blessed, and I'm very thankful to have this platform where I can share with you guys. Hopefully I can do more of these videos, and I just hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys liked it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me know if there's anything I can answer. You know, if there's any other assumptions, leave them down below. Would love to answer them. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching this very long video. Honestly, if you're still watching, like, I love you. You're the best. Make sure to like this video, guys, and make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content, and I will see you guys next time.